When Marcus pulled over to help what he thought was a stranded motorist on Highway 81, he didn't know he was looking at himself. Before we continue, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications, because stories like this are more common than you think. Winter 2019. Interstate 81. Somewhere between the Virginia-Tennessee border and the forgotten truck stops that dot the Appalachian darkness. Marcus Cole had been driving the same route for 14 years. He knew every rest stop, every diner, every place where the cell signal died for exactly 7 minutes. He was a man of patterns, of routine, of the comfort that comes from predictability. But on the night of February 12th, Marcus would discover that someone else knew his patterns too. Someone who had been studying him, watching him, becoming him. This is a story about identity, isolation, and the terrifying question: how well do you really know yourself? Marcus Cole was 43 years old, divorced, no kids. His entire life fit into the cabin of his Freightliner. Photos of his ex-wife were still tucked into the sun visor, not out of love, but because he'd simply forgotten they were there. His dog, a German Shepherd named Diesel, had died 3 years ago, and Marcus still bought dog treats at every truck stop, realizing his mistake only when he reached the register. He was disappearing into his own life, fading, becoming invisible even to himself. The route from Nashville to Roanoke was his bread and butter. Electronics mostly, sometimes furniture, things that didn't ask questions, things that didn't care if you talked to them or not. Marcus liked it that way. Solitude was safer than connection. Silence was easier than conversation. On the night it happened, Marcus was running 2 hours behind schedule. A warehouse delay in Nashville. Nothing unusual. Nothing that would make this night different from the hundreds before it. He'd grabbed coffee at the Flying J outside of Bristol, declined small talk with the cashier, and merged back onto 81 North just after 11 p.m. The road was empty. It usually was at this hour. Just the occasional pair of headlights passing in the opposite direction. Brief moments of light in the consuming darkness of the Appalachian night. Marcus had been driving for 90 minutes when he saw it. A semi-truck, parked on the shoulder. Hazard lights blinking. Professional courtesy. That's what they called it among truckers. You don't pass a stranded driver without at least checking if they need help. It was an unwritten rule, a code that separated the professionals from everyone else. Marcus pulled over about 50 feet ahead of the disabled truck. He grabbed his flashlight from the door pocket, zipped his jacket against the February cold, and stepped down from the cab. The wind hit him immediately, carried something with it, something that made the hair on his neck stand up. Not sound exactly, more like the absence of sound, the space where sound should be. He walked back toward the other truck, his flashlight beam cutting through the fog. As he got closer, details emerged. The truck was a Freightliner, same model as his, same year, same company livery, same license plate. Marcus stopped walking. His flashlight beam trembled. He read the plate again, certain he'd made a mistake. But no, those were his numbers, his registration. He approached the driver's side door slowly. The window was dark. He knocked. The sound echoed wrong in the empty night. Too loud, too hollow. No response. Marcus tried the door handle. Unlocked. It swung open with a creak that seemed to last forever. The cabin was empty. But it wasn't just empty. It was his cabin. Same worn leather seat. Same coffee cup in the holder, even the same brand he'd bought an hour ago. Same photos in the visor. Same dog treats in the center console. His hands were shaking now. This was wrong. This was impossible. He backed away from the truck, his mind racing through explanations. Coincidence. It had to be coincidence. Same truck model, same company, someone playing a prank. Except the license plate. Except the photos. Except the dog treats for a dog that had been dead for 3 years. That's when Marcus heard it. Footsteps. Crunching on gravel. Coming from behind him. He spun around, his flashlight beam sweeping across the darkness. And there, standing in the cone of light, was a man. The man looked exactly like Marcus. Same face, same jacket, same work boots, Same scar on his left hand from a pallet jack accident in 2011. The man smiled. Hey there, brother. Thanks for stopping. Marcus couldn't speak. His throat had closed. His brain was screaming at him to run, but his legs wouldn't move. The other Marcus tilted his head. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. Who? What are you? Marcus finally managed. The smile widened. I'm you. Or rather, I'm the you that you should have been. The one who didn't give up. The one who didn't fade away into nothing. This isn't real, Marcus said. His voice sounded distant, like it was coming from someone else. I'm hallucinating. The coffee. Something was in the coffee. The other Marcus laughed. It was his laugh. The same one he used to make before his marriage fell apart. Before he stopped caring about anything. You're not hallucinating, Marcus. Well, the original Marcus. I need a way to distinguish us, don't I? Let's call you Marcus Prime. How's that? Very comic book. Marcus Prime took a step back. What do you want? Want? I don't want anything. I already have everything. Your truck. Your route. Your life. Such as it is. The doppelganger walked toward the disabled semi, running his hand along the trailer. I've been you for 3 days now. Drove your route. Stayed in your usual motels. Even called your dispatcher to report you were running late. They didn't notice anything. No one did. Because no one really sees you anymore. Do they, Marcus? The words hit harder than a physical blow. Because they were true. Marcus couldn't remember the last time someone had actually looked at him. Really looked. Seen him as a person rather than just a driver, a deliverer of goods, a transaction. I've been watching you for months, the doppelganger continued. Learning you, your patterns, your habits, the way you order coffee, 2 sugars, no cream, the way you check your blind spot twice before merging, the way you still buy dog treats for a dog that's been dead for 3 years because some part of you can't accept that even that relationship is gone. Marcus felt tears on his cheeks. When had he started crying? You've become a ghost, Marcus. You're haunting your own life. And I thought, why let all that go to waste? Why not step in? Give your life some purpose? Some meaning? By what? Stealing it? By living it? When was the last time you actually lived? When was the last time you felt something? Anything? Marcus Prime couldn't answer. Because the answer was too painful. He couldn't remember the last time he'd felt truly alive. Years. Maybe a decade. He'd been going through the motions, marking time, waiting for something to change while doing nothing to change it. How? Marcus Prime asked. How is this even possible? The doppelganger shrugged. Does it matter? You want the truth? I don't fully understand it myself. Maybe I'm a hallucination. Maybe I'm something darker. Maybe this is what happens when someone fades so completely that the universe notices the empty space and decides to fill it. He moved closer now. Close enough that Marcus could see every detail of his face. Every pore. Every line. It was like looking in a mirror. But mirrors don't move independently. Mirrors don't smile with malice. Or maybe, the doppelganger whispered, I've always been here, inside you, the part of you that still wanted to fight, the part that still had hope. And you starved me, ignored me, pushed me down until I had to claw my way out and become my own person. Marcus Prime felt something shift inside his chest. A terrible recognition. Because on some level this made sense. He had given up. He had stopped being a person and started being a function. He'd hollowed himself out so completely that maybe, just maybe, something else could move in. So what now? Marcus asked. You kill me? Take over completely? Kill you? The doppelganger looked genuinely surprised. Why would I do that? You're already dead, Marcus. You've been dead for years. You just kept driving around, delivering packages, pretending there was still a person inside that meat suit. He turned and started walking back toward Marcus Prime's truck. The one that had been running. The one that hadn't mysteriously broken down. No, the doppelganger called over his shoulder. I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to give you something much worse. I'm going to let you live. Let you keep driving. Let you keep existing. And every day you'll know that someone else is out there. living your life better than you ever did. Someone who looks exactly like you, but isn't completely empty inside. Marcus Prime stood frozen as the doppelganger climbed into his truck. His truck. The engine was still running. The lights were still on. "Wait!" Marcus Prime shouted. He ran toward the truck. "You can't just leave." The doppelganger leaned out the window. "Can't I? Watch me. Or better yet, don't. Go home, Marcus. If you can even remember where that is. Find something. Anything. Start living again. Because I'm done living in your shadow." "But Marcus Prime stopped. What could he say? He reached the truck and grabbed the door handle. Looked up at the face that was his face. "I don't know how." For the first time, the doppelganger's expression softened. Something almost like pity crossed his features. "I know. That's the tragedy, isn't it? You've forgotten how to be human. But maybe this is your chance. Maybe hitting rock bottom is what you needed." The truck started to pull away. Marcus Prime held on, running alongside it. "Please, I can change. I can be better." "Then prove it." The doppelganger gently pried Marcus's fingers from the door. "Prove you're more than just a ghost driving a truck. Prove you deserve to exist." The truck accelerated. Marcus Prime stumbled, fell to his knees on the gravel shoulder. He watched his taillights disappear into the fog. Watched himself drive away. He knelt there for 10 minutes. 20. An hour. No cars passed. The disabled truck sat behind him with its hazard lights still flashing. His truck. His license plate. His life broken down on the side of the road. Finally, Marcus Prime stood up. His knees hurt. Everything hurt. But for the first time in years, he felt something. Pain. Confusion. Fear. But also possibility. He walked back to the disabled truck. Climbed inside. The keys were in the ignition. He turned them. The engine caught, rumbled to life. There had never been anything wrong with it. Marcus Prime sat in the driver's seat, and tried to figure out what to do next. Keep driving? The thought made him sick. Drive this route one more time. Deliver one more load. Fade a little more. Disappear completely. Or he could turn around. Drive back. Try to remember who he used to be before he became nothing. Marcus Prime didn't go back to driving. Not immediately. Instead, he did something he hadn't done in years. He started asking questions. He drove to the nearest truck stop and went inside. The clerk was a young woman, maybe 25, with tired eyes and a name tag that said, "Jennifer." "Did you see me?" Marcus asked her. "Earlier tonight. Did I stop here?" Jennifer looked up from her phone. "You're here now." "No, did someone who looked like me come through?" "Couple hours ago." She studied his face. Really looked at him. It was unnerving being seen. "Maybe we get a lot of drivers. They all kind of blur together. You know? They all kind of blur together." That was the problem. He'd blurred. Faded into the background of his own existence. Marcus Prime spent the next 3 days doing something he should have done years ago. He investigated his own life. He called his ex-wife, Sarah. The conversation was awkward, painful. She seemed surprised to hear from him. "Marcus? Is everything okay?" "I don't know," he said honestly. "I think I've been gone for a while. Not dead, just gone." There was a long silence. Then Sarah said something that broke his heart. "Yeah, I noticed. That's why I left." He asked her when it started. When he started disappearing. She thought about it. "Remember when Diesel died? It was around then. You just shut down. Stopped talking. Stopped caring. I tried to reach you, but it was like trying to hold on to smoke." Marcus Prime drove to the company dispatch center in Nashville. He asked to see the delivery logs for the past week. The dispatcher, a heavy-set man named Ron, looked at him strangely. "You feeling all right, Marcus? You've been making your deliveries on schedule. Actually, you've been early the past few days. Better than you've been in months. Who signed for the deliveries?" Ron pulled up the records on his computer. "Says here you did. Your signature. Your truck. Your GPS tracking." Marcus Prime looked at the signatures. They were perfect. Better than his own signatures had been lately. His handwriting had deteriorated over the years, become shaky, uncertain. But these signatures were confident, clear, the handwriting of someone who knew who they were. The more Marcus Prime investigated, the more he found. The doppelganger had been right. He'd been living Marcus's life for at least 3 days, possibly longer. And he'd been doing it better. Customers reported that Marcus had been friendlier, more professional. One warehouse manager said, "Whatever you're doing differently, keep it up. You actually smiled yesterday. I didn't know you could do that." Marcus Prime felt something twist inside him. Jealousy? Shame? He was being replaced by himself. By a better version. A version that hadn't given up. He started driving again, but not his usual route. He started following his own GPS history, tracking where the doppelganger had been. It was like stalking himself. He'd stop at the same truck stops, talk to the same people. "You just left," a waitress told him at a diner outside of Knoxville. "Like an hour ago. You ordered the meatloaf special. Said it reminded you of your mom's cooking. First time you ever said anything personal. Usually you just point at the menu and grunt." Marcus Prime ordered the meatloaf. It did taste like his mom's cooking. How had he forgotten that? How had he stopped tasting things? For 2 weeks, Marcus Prime followed himself. Watched his own life being lived by someone else. He saw the doppelganger from a distance a few times. Watched him interact with people. Laugh. Make small talk. Exist in the world instead of just passing through it. And slowly, Marcus Prime started to understand. This wasn't a haunting. This wasn't supernatural. Or maybe it was, but not in the way he'd thought. The doppelganger wasn't stealing his life. He was showing him how to live it. It happened at the same rest stop where they'd first met. Marcus Prime had been waiting there for 3 days, knowing his doppelganger would eventually return. Knowing the route would bring him back. It was 2 a.m. when the familiar Freightliner pulled into the parking lot. Marcus Prime watched from his own truck as his double climbed down from the cab, stretched, started walking toward the restroom building. Marcus Prime got out and intercepted him. They stood facing each other under the harsh sodium lights. "I've been looking for you," Marcus Prime said. "I know. I've seen you following me." The doppelganger didn't seem surprised. "So, what now? You want to fight for your life back? Try to kill me?" "No." Marcus Prime took a breath. "I want to thank you." The doppelganger's expression shifted. Surprise. Maybe respect. "Thank me? You were right. I was dead. I've been dead for years. Just going through the motions. Waiting to actually die so it would match how I felt inside." Marcus Prime stepped closer. "But watching you, watching me, watching what I could be if I tried, it woke something up. I've been talking to Sarah. Really talking. We might not get back together, but at least we're connecting again. I adopted a dog. A rescue. Named her Hope because I'm not subtle." The doppelganger smiled. Really smiled. "So you're living again." "I'm trying. It's hard. I forgot how hard it is to actually care about things. To let people see you. To be vulnerable. But I'm trying." "Good." The doppelganger turned to walk back to his truck. "Keep trying." "Wait," Marcus Prime called out. "What happens now? Do you just keep existing? Do we both keep driving the same routes? How does this work?" The doppelganger stopped, turned back. The sodium lights flickered, and for just a moment, his form seemed to shimmer, become translucent. "You know what happens, Marcus. You've always known. I don't understand." "Yes, you do. You created me. When you gave up, when you became nothing, you left space for something else. A shadow. Possibility. A version of yourself that still wanted to exist." The flickering got worse. The doppelganger's form was fading. "But now you're filling that space again. Taking up room in your own life. There's not enough space for both of us anymore." Marcus Prime felt panic. "No. Wait. You can't go. You're better at this than me. You know how to live. You know how to be happy." "I'm not going anywhere." The doppelganger's voice was getting fainter. "I'm just going back where I came from. Back inside you. where I've always been. You don't need me anymore, Marcus. You just needed to remember that you're still in there, that you're still worth the effort. But what if I forget again? What if I fade? Then I'll come back. The doppelganger was almost completely transparent now, just an outline in the sodium light. I'll always come back, because I'm not your enemy, Marcus. I'm your alarm clock, your wake-up call, the part of you that refuses to disappear completely. And then he was gone. Just air and light and the sound of the wind through the empty parking lot. Marcus Prime stood alone under the lights. He walked to where the other truck had been parked. It was gone. He checked the company GPS. Only one truck on the route. Only one Marcus Cole, active driver, currently at a rest stop on I-81. 6 months passed. Marcus Prime kept driving his route, but it was different now. He talked to people, remembered their names. He called Sarah twice a week. They'd had coffee a few times. Nothing romantic, but something real, something human. Hope, his rescue dog, rode with him in the truck. Company allowed it because his performance had improved so dramatically. He'd been named Driver of the Month twice. He still had bad days. Days when the loneliness crept back in. Days when it would be easier to just shut down, stop caring, fade back into the comfortable numbness of not existing. On those days, he'd catch glimpses of his doppelganger. A flash in the mirror. A figure in the distance that looked just like him. A reminder that the shadow was still there, still waiting. But Marcus Prime didn't need the shadow anymore. He knew how to live now. He knew how to be human. It was work. It was exhausting. But it was real. One night, almost exactly a year after the first encounter, Marcus Prime was driving the same stretch of I-81. The same spot. 2 a.m. Foggy. Empty road. He saw a truck on the shoulder. Hazards flashing. Marcus Prime slowed down. Pulled over. Got out. As he approached the disabled truck, he saw the driver step out. A young guy, maybe 30. Lost look in his eyes. Defeated posture. The look of someone who'd given up. "You okay?" Marcus Prime asked. The young driver looked at him. Through him. "Yeah, just tired. So tired." Marcus Prime recognized that exhaustion. He'd lived in it for years. He walked closer, looking at the young driver's face, really seeing him. "You're more than tired, aren't you? You're disappearing." The young driver's eyes widened. "How did you?" "Because I've been where you are. And I'm here to tell you something important." Marcus Prime put his hand on the young driver's shoulder. Felt how insubstantial he was. How close to vanishing. "You're still here. You still matter. But you have to fight for it. You have to choose to exist." The young driver started crying. "I don't know how anymore. I don't know how to be a person." "I'll teach you," Marcus Prime said. "Someone taught me. Now I'll teach you." He looked past the young driver and saw something that made his blood run cold. Standing by the truck. Watching. Smiling. His doppelganger. Solid. Real. Permanent. But this time Marcus Prime understood. The shadow wasn't his anymore. It had found a new home. A new person who'd faded so completely that they'd left room for something else to move in. The doppelganger nodded at Marcus Prime. A silent acknowledgement. Then disappeared into the young driver's truck. Marcus Prime spent the next 3 hours with the young driver. Bought him coffee. Talked about life, about meaning, about the hard work of existing. Gave him his phone number. Made him promise to call. As the sun started to rise and they finally parted ways, Marcus Prime watched the young driver get back in his truck and pull away. He wondered if he'd see him again. Wondered if the shadow would consume him, or if the young driver would fight back like Marcus Prime had. He'd never know for sure, but he'd tried. He'd done what the shadow had done for him. Shown someone the way back from the edge of disappearing. As Marcus Prime climbed back into his own truck, Hope wagging her tail in the passenger seat, he caught a glimpse of something in his rearview mirror. His doppelganger. Standing on the side of the highway, watching him drive away. But this time, the doppelganger wasn't smiling. He looked worried, searching, already looking for his next victim, his next host, his next person who'd faded enough to make room. Marcus Prime turned on his radio, scratched hope behind the ears, merged back onto the highway as the sun broke through the morning fog. He was alive. He was real. He existed. But somewhere out there on this same highway, another driver was fading. Another person was giving up. Another shadow was waiting to be born. And when it was, Marcus Prime would be watching. Because he understood now. The shadow wasn't evil. It was necessary. It was the universe's way of refusing to let people disappear completely. He'd been saved by his shadow. Now he'd spend the rest of his life saving others from theirs. But as the miles passed and the morning grew brighter, Marcus Prime couldn't shake one final thought. One terrible possibility that he'd never considered until now. What if he was the shadow? What if the original Marcus Prime was still out there somewhere, faded and forgotten, while he, the doppelgänger, had simply convinced himself that he was real? He looked down at his hands on the steering wheel. They looked solid. They felt real. But so had the doppelganger's hands when they'd pried Marcus Prime's fingers from the truck door a year ago. Marcus Prime drove on, uncertain of everything except this. Somewhere on this highway, the shadow was always watching, always waiting, always ready to remind you that the price of existence is constant vigilance. Because the moment you stop fighting to be real, the moment you fade just a little too much, someone else will notice the empty space, and they'll fill it for you.